Welcome back to the P.O.W.E.R podcast, property, ownership, wealth and everything related. I'm Melissa Ashcroft, Director of the AAA Financial Group, where we help clients structure capital and finance across property, business and their investments. In this episode of the P.O.W.E.R podcast, I sit down with Chris Wilson, founder of Willowtree Planning, to unpack one of the most misunderstood but most powerful levers in property, town planning. Behind every successful development, subdivision or value-add play is a planning strategy that most investors and business owners never fully understand, myself included. Chris is the founder of Willowtree Planning, a specialist town planning consultancy that works with developers, investors and landowners to navigate the planning system and unlock site potential. His expertise lies in identifying development opportunities, managing approvals, and helping clients move from concept to execution with clarity and confidence. Not only that, but he owns his business, he has so many staff, he's got boards. I'm really keen to learn a lot more about what he does and how he's done it. So Chris, welcome.
Thanks Melissa, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know you're a very time-poor person. And so to solidify this, period of time with you, I'm, deeply grateful. So I always ask people, and I always ask guests because they've done something interesting or different. And I think what I know about you and I know about your company is that you've not only founded the company that you run and manage, but, you've done that in this planning world. So tell me, how did Willowtree come about and how did you get into planning?
That's a long story, but I'll try and give you the cliff notes.
We're all interested.
Sure. Look, I at university and at school, I was quite good at geography, and I also liked land development. I come from a pedigree of land subdivisions and the like, with my grandfather working and doing pretty much a lot of the development at Forest Lakes up in the west of Brisbane. Right. So when it came to getting a decent overall position to get into university, I kind of thought, well, I don't want to do arts, or I didn't really want to do law, being the son of a lawyer, although it has served me well in later life. Yes. Town planning was something you could specialise in, so I decided that I'd use my geographic knowledge and understanding and my love for the land and built form, put them together and enrolled in a regional town planning degree at the University of Queensland.
So that's the degree, regional?
Bachelor of Regional Town Planning. Okay. There are other different types of planning courses you can do, but the one in Queensland, it's very similar to the one at Sydney University here, and Macquarie University offer a very good program also.
Great. Yeah. So the amalgamation of family, legacy with a keen interest in geography and the land equals planner.
Yeah, town planner. It's kind of made sense to me to specialise rather than doing, I wasn't smart enough to get into, engineering. And I didn't really want to be a designer architect. It wasn't something. I'm not the most creative type, although quite creative in what we do in a planning sense these days. Yeah. So it just seemed to be able to specialise. And also I had my, very opportunistic, but good friends of mine were working in a planning firm, and I was able to go straight into university and start working at the same time, part-time, which gave me a real jump start and a good, exposure to what planning's all about in Queensland. And after fast forward sort of 4 years, I kind of finished my degree and decided I think I want to go and tackle a new challenge, and that brought me to New South Wales, where I founded my business. Yeah.
So you started your business out of uni?
Pretty much 2 years out, 18 months out. Yeah, I started as Chris Wilson Consulting out of the humble 58 Harbord Road in Freshwater. Very good. And then I merged my Chris Wilson Consulting with a large private national private certification business known as McKinsey Group. Yep. And they provided me with infrastructure and network, and I needed, admin and different things around me. Yeah. And gave me a great exposure to all the listed institutions that we work with today. Some of we work with today. Yeah. And then fast forward, that went for about 7 years sitting on their national board and helping them grow their business out. They've subsequently been bought by a company called Bureau Veritas, a big French mob. Yep. I didn't really want to go on that journey. It was a growth business, so myself and my business partner Andrew Cowan decided that we'd buy McKinsey Group out of the planning arm and rebrand it to Willowtree.
Great. And the name Willowtree?
Well, that's
you always have to ask this question, right?
Wilson, Willow, very good friends of ours, actually live up in Blackville.
Oh, okay.
He's the godfather of my son.
Yes.
And we go out there at Easter time, and you go to the Willowtree Hotel. When we had to come up with a name, it's kind of like, well, something a bit unique and boutique.
Yes.
So we decided on Willowtree. The other thing too, Mel, is what I do tell people is if you look at a willow tree, it's got, very deep roots, which represent some structure. It's got a good, solid, strong body, which represents to me integrity. It's also got great branches and leaves, which represents big networks. And it's also an invasive, noxious weed, just like me.
Well, I love that idea, and I love the concept and the tree around it. I wouldn't call you, an obnoxious weed, maybe just obnoxious. Maybe.
My wife would agree.
Yeah. Oh, well, she's a lovely lady. So you, at that time, did you have the aspiration to build the business to where it is today? And what does the business look like today?
Sure. Well, it started just as myself, and I kind of realised pretty quickly after my time at Lendlease and other places that I kind of wanted to do things my way. I felt there was a real gap in the market, and that I could offer something that others couldn't. It's really all about the values that you bring from your home life into business. We're predicated on value-based organisation, performance-based organisation, the will to win, integrity, quality above all else. So I decided that I felt like I was a bit unemployable, and I thought I'd just try my hand.
That's how I feel.
Try my hand, and I've got great drive. And I was quite keen to run it the private sector. And I had that no quit, no failure sort of mentality, which I still maintain today. And decided that the right place with the biggest market, the 12th largest city in area in the world, being Sydney, was the right place to kick it off at 26.
Yeah, that's very impressive, because a lot of people, I think, go into business going, I'm just going to give it a go. I don't know how it's going to work out. They're not fully committed or fully into it. And that's often where you see little things happen and then dissipate, things that don't actually continue to grow and have that structure, like the trunk of the tree. And I do think it takes a special person. And as you said, you've got that drive. It's just so interesting to me, because everybody I speak to in positions like you are owners, you've got a lot of staff, you're looking after them, you care about other people, you've got integrity. They all have this fire in the pit of their belly. And so where do you think yours comes from?
Being the son of a lawyer probably gave me a bit of a kickstart. I also think playing in team sports is a big part of it. Also being of my genes and my genetics, that can do, let's
Just
go first. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, dare I say it, the punch first, ask questions later type approach. But a very measured. At the same time, you process things, you think about where you want to be, how you can get there. You look at the downside, but I'm more interested in the upside. And I'll manage the downside as I go. So it's just one of those things that I think was probably ingrained and instilled in me as a young fella running around up in the west of Brisbane playing footy for University of Queensland and Western Districts and Taylor Bridge, and it's just evolved from there. Continued on.
I like how you say team sport as well, because we have touched on that in a different podcast, but there's something about playing on teams and the team mentality, and this is your position here and that's your position there, that I call every group I'm in, I'm like team, work team, family, it is that team mentality, and I think that's also that collaborative approach that helps people become successful. Because a lot of our listeners are very interested in all the people on our podcast, because they're like, oh, maybe I want to get into planning, or maybe I want to do this. So tell us a bit more about what a planner actually does. Because you could even put it into ChatGPT and it'll come out saying you're a financial planner, Break it down for me, please.
I've had to do this a number of times for my wife still to this day. She's still trying to get a read on it. But look, it's basically taking people's concepts. So if you want to build a house, a childcare centre, a hospital, a marina, a data centre, a high-rise commercial building, if you want to subdivide one lot into two, you generally will need an approval to get that to build it, right?
A council approval.
Council approval generally, and there's different layers of approval. Some are private certification, which means you don't need to go to council, but you still need a planner to advise. And then the private certifier will take you on the approvals journey, so you can build it and then obviously sell it or keep it. Then there's the council level, where most applications go. Then there's also the state government, which is a particular area we're focused in, state significant developments and MIDs in Queensland.
Yeah.
So basically we manage that process for you. You come to us and what we can tell you is, can you do it?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take? And how much is it going to cost to actually get you to that point? Now, we're not project managers, but we sort of can bring the right teams together.
Yeah.
We've obviously got a very extensive network of professionals, depending on the type of project you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, the difference between doing a residential dwelling or a dual occupancy, for example, to a residential flat building. Yeah. You're going to obviously need a lot more different consultants.
Very different. And in that world is my world, right? So that development finance side. So we always want to get out of our planner the highest FSR that we can. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that I can work with a developer and yourself, and we can look at a site and you can tell us what the highest value is to get out of that.
Yeah, we can essentially run an assessment to determine, can you push a bit further on this FSR and height limit, for example.
Yeah.
And there is a statutory mechanism to vary key statutory controls like height and FSR in New South Wales at least.
Yeah.
But we can sort of have a look at what's happening in the streetscape context.
Yeah.
The prevailing character, any draft plans that the councils or the state government might have, of which there's been many released, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later.
Yeah.
And we can sort of give you some pretty clear guidance on where we think it will land, how far you can push it. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying go out there
how far you can push it to get approved.
To get approved, yeah.
And an FSR is?
Force space ratio.
There we go. So a lot of people ask all these acronyms in our world, right?
And there's so many in planning, I can assure you.
Too many.
Yeah, there really is.
So the higher the FSR, floor space ratio, means that you can probably build more and therefore get more value out of whatever, especially if it's like resi units, they're probably the easiest to break down. Yep. The more FSR you can get, the more then you can sell, or the more you can build. The more yield you can get effectively
in a built form residential flat building sense.
Yep.
What you're effectively doing, the FSR is controlling how big, how wide the box that you're creating, right?
Yeah.
And then you couple that with the height limit,
yeah.
and that sort of establishes what the councils do in their local environmental plans and moreover their DCPs, development control plans.
Yes.
Is trying to establish a prevailing streetscape character or a locality character. You know, the character of, let's say Manly's got a different character to Bankstown. So making sure that you're controlling the height and built form, the height and FSR.
Tight controls that are very particular to each council. Do you love councils?
No, I do not. No, I think they should be left.
Does anybody?
I think they should be left to garbage collection and signage. I've been saying that for years.
Yes.
I think there are some great councils out there, but I think we've, with the real productivity crisis in this country, it starts at the federal level into the state level, and unfortunately right down to the local level. But there are some great operators still in there that we like collaborating with, but for the life of me, I can't understand how things can still take so long.
So long.
Yeah.
And in my world, so if I'm doing a land bank for a developer and it's subject, they're trying to obtain their DA approval, which is their development approval for the site, there are certain criteria that they have to meet in order to even just submit that application, including all the planning. But the council can sometimes take 18, 24 months.
Yep.
And therefore that's costing that developer so much money just to hold on to this piece of land so that they can build it eventually.
Yep.
And so that's kind of, I think, putting it into like a practical sense. It's not just that the people that work there can be quite difficult, but it's more that the time that it takes. And the governments have tried to speed this up. How come you think that hasn't been able to happen?
Look, I think, and I appreciate the sentiment around holding costs, and developers generally are trying to time it with the market conditions. And if you get that wrong, it can be in some cases fatal, right?
Yeah.
You throw in land tax and a whole range of other things that upset a lot of our clients. Look, I think there's, under the Minns government, we've seen the most meaningful change.
Yep.
You've got to remember that in New South Wales particularly, now I can talk about Victoria and Queensland, but I'll focus on New South Wales. We're trading on a 1979 Planning Act. That's older than me, Mel. It's been amended 211 times. Now, if you...
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's what they've effectively done over time is put a Band-Aid over a bullet wound, and it's just got to a point now where it's just... it's broken, it's fractured.
Yeah.
It works for some things, it doesn't for others. So the Minns government, when they came in, obviously with the National Housing Accord, has made a really concerted effort, and I think it's the most meaningful change that we've seen since 1979 in amending the Planning Act.
Yeah.
So the Planning Act in New South Wales now has, as one of the key objectives, housing. And guess what? Ta-da, we're in a housing crisis, an affordability crisis, and we have been for a long time.
Exactly.
And what is lost on a lot of people, before we were in a housing crisis, we're in an aged care crisis. So it's just doubled down on the aged care side. It's even worse now.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've seen a lot of policy and legislative shift.
Yeah.
And that's coming through obviously the TODs, the accelerated precincts. TODs being the transit-oriented development sites around train stations.
Yep.
Then you've got your accelerated precincts where they will bring in lots of height and FSR and density.
Yep.
And then you come down to more local-based things like pattern book controls.
Yep.
So row houses and terrace homes.
Yep.
They're amending the Act to make more types of projects be complying development. So that's where you only go to a certifier and not with council.
We call that
speeds
CDC.
Up. CDC,
in our
that's
world.
right. That's
Every
what we
developer
call.
at the moment is like, I've got it CDC. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yes.
That
Exactly.
more of that would make life a lot easier, but I don't think it's ever going to apply to a true development. I think it's more in that, I guess, 1-2 dwelling space. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fair to say. I think what we are seeing now, though, and the new set of rules will be coming imminently, meaning hopefully by the end of this financial year, is what's called a targeted assessment framework.
Okay.
And that's very similar to the Queensland system where you have a level of assessment. We've got CDCs, DAs, designated developments and state significant applications in New South Wales. In Queensland, they have self-assessable, code assessable. If you meet the code, you're straight through, 30 days in some cases.
Yeah.
And then you've got impact assessable where you might have pushed the FSR and height too far.
Yes.
And that goes out for public comment.
That's right.
So we're having that brought in. I think it's great that we're learning some smarts from other states that have amended things.
Yeah.
I do also, and it's worth saying that what the state government under the Minns government has done, and Scully, they've brought in more bigger development types like aged care, data. So they've really broadened out in the housing system set what triggers what's known as state significant development. So you go straight to the state government, different process, but that's designed because they want to get shit done, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're leaving them with local councils, you run into all this local-based emotive politics, and quite frankly, often there's not enough. Now, dare I say it, in there to actually expedite these types of applications. They're too complicated in some cases for them.
Well, it's interesting that you point out Queensland because all the funders that I use at the moment, and that a lot of them are institutional based around Sydney, their offices are now all moving up to Queensland because there is actionable work there. There is, developments that they can fund, and it's really stalled in New South Wales.
Absolutely.
What I'm also seeing a lot of is land subs in more regional areas not work out because there's a lot of, belief that they're going to be worth a lot more than they actually will be. So, I mean, in terms of solving this housing crisis, it doesn't seem that there's a solution. Maybe this will come in and help with, speeding up planning, but what do you think about that?
Look, and I don't want to cross over too much out of my specialist field, but I do think that, we have, I think we need to slow the immigration for the moment because we don't have enough homes. We don't have enough aged care for our ageing population for a start, but we don't have enough homes for the young people coming through. We've got kids, I'm really worried about what their future is going to look like. Am I going to have 3 kids living under my roof until they're 30?
Probably.
It's probably not what I want. My wife probably wants that.
Yes.
But I think we just need to, and I get it, there's an economic conversation here that needs to be had too, but I think we need to just slow that down for a moment and get on top of it and service 100%. The people that are here before we really start to open it up. I mean, in New South Wales, simply because of the land values and everything's so inflated effectively, we've got developer builders that we've put through the an EOI to the Housing Development Authority that they're developer builders, right? For 350 apartments in a pretty key location, but there's not enough margin in it for them to build it, so 100%. They're just selling it. So a lot of these approvals that are coming through at the moment,
they can't get.
They're just sitting there. They're valid for 5 years. Some of them will be physically commenced. But we're not seeing a lot of them actually convert into a built form product, which is unfortunate.
It is. I have quite a few clients with DA approved from 30 to 60 units in great locations in Sydney, but the build costs just don't stack up. And when you mentioned developer builder, that is the flavour of the moment. Well, has been for a while, because that's a cost-cutting experience now too. Whereas 5 years ago, the banks, and 5 to 10 years ago, the banks would favour the developer. They want the builder there and then them here. Now banks just want to deal with one party because they know that the margins aren't going to be there. I'm not asking you to solve the construction issues, but certainly the planning is where it starts. Absolutely. And so if there's pathways forward to reduce those holding costs on land and to expedite, it can mean that the project has a higher profitability than it would have if it's in a land bank situation for 24 to 36 months. Costs them millions of dollars just in the interest to hold a site, to wait for the council to pick up a part of the report that they didn't get done, and now we have to wait for somebody who works there 2 days a week to resolve our issue.
And I think you're absolutely right. The planning, it does start with the planning system. As I mentioned, I think the Minns government they're to be commended for the work they've done here in New South Wales. But I think
shout out to Chris Minns.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Minns and Scully. Good job, guys. And I think, the work I do on the Urban Task Force Steering Committee, we advocate for meaningful change, in planning and development sense. And I think one thing that they probably can do to lighten the load or help these feasibilities stack on these projects is look at the raft of fees and contributions you've got to pay to actually get these things going. Like, just give it a rest, pare it back, and you might have, if a FISO's on the margin, or it's on the tipping point, to be able to pull those fees out, or even defer payment of some things until occupation certificate rather than prior to construction certificate, goes a long way to actually, every dollar and cent counts to get these things to work. So
I like that. So let's just pivot a bit now back to you and Willowtree. So can I ask how many staff that you have?
Too many.
Too many?
No, I think we've got a wonderful team. We've got about 11 up in Brisbane. We've been up there for 5 or 6 years now, and doing some great projects. Obviously, as you mentioned, a lot of what I call the Mexicans, the people from Melbourne, the vendors here in Sydney are all heading up to Queensland. So we've got some amazing projects right up the top, right up to beyond Townsville. Across all sectors, which is really, really enjoyable. In New South Wales, we've got about 31 or 2 planners and social planners. We've got a communications and strategic advisory arm, so where you have to go and consult with government, councils and the community. That's wrapped around all the town planning that we do. It's heavily integrated these days, social impact assessments and the like. So there's a team of 42 odd technical people. And then we've got our CFO, we've got our HR manager.
Board as well.
We've got our advisory board, which we're very lucky.
Recently new, isn't it?
It's been running for about 3 years now. And we've got a great chair in Brett Mason, who obviously was the former MD of P.O.W.E.R. Brett's come in and helped us with our values and performance-based model.
Great.
So we're very privileged to have some really. I've got great business partners and great people around me, but to have that advisory board led by Brett's been really helpful for us.
And so obviously that's huge, right? Your payroll must be massive every week. I mean...
month,
every month. You need people to do your job, basically. I don't really want to delve into AI, but I'm assuming there's some benefits there. But what I wanted to ask is, what's the future? Is it a national presence? Are you happy where you are? How do you know how to navigate that? Yeah,
look, I think at the moment, it's a good question. One that we've got our 3 to 5 year strategic plan, so we're really clear on what it is that we're trying to achieve. Victoria has always been on our agenda. I'm down there, next week. And it's obviously, there's a lot of land banking going on. It will grow back. It'll come back.
They've got it tough. They've had it tough for a while.
But we're really lucky in a lot of the employees that we've made with our key people. There's about 7 or 8, it's almost not quite a third, but at least a fifth of our business can all work up and down the eastern seaboard, or in WA for that matter. So we're running some data centre projects, some aged care projects. Calvary Bethlehem down in Caulfield South, I ran that myself, which is a huge aged care hospital redevelopment. So we've got the capability, and we continue to service it from here in Sydney at the moment, or Brisbane.
Great.
So we don't have a shingle on the wall down there, but it is in our plan to, at a point in time, as I say, I'm down there Monday, Tuesday next week again.
Very good.
Love going down to Melbourne.
If the weather's good, it's good.
It's good. So I think what we probably will focus on, yes, the AI has come through. The reality is it probably saves us 5 or 6% of our time and efficiency.
Yeah.
That's with formatting, grammatical things. But the problem with planning that it can't do is the critical thinking for you.
That's right.
So we have an AI policy.
Yeah.
We use Claude AI. We also have Google Ingenia.
Yeah.
And Copilot is another one. So they're all competing and they're all doing different things better than each other.
We're very similar. Yeah.
So it's really just for us keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
But it can't stand up in a local land environment court setting. It can't stand up a local planning panel and give evidence.
That's right.
It can't critically think for you. And frankly, we've tried to put things through
Think
AI,
like me.
like an REF, and you're like, whoa, that's really bad. But it can give you some of the guts of the site context, the site description, basic things like that. But it saves us a little bit of time, but the critical thinking's the part
I love that critical thinking. I call it judgment.
Yep.
Because from what we do, yes, AI could probably take over all of our industry in terms of the processes and the compliance and things we have to do. But at the end of the day, doesn't have that judgment. It hasn't met the person. It doesn't know where they're living. It doesn't know the context. And there's an emotional element to that. But also the judgment or the critical thinking is what separates a good one from a bad one. Yep. So you have to have a lot of good critical thinkers at Willowtree Planning. So I'm trying to find a lot of good critical thinkers.
Look, and like in every industry and sector, good people are hard to find, right?
Yeah, that's it.
But I think, when you do get the good ones and continuing to mentor them, fostering a culture and environment, as I'm sure you do here.
Try to.
Of leaning in, buying into your values, your performance-based culture. And I always say to people, you get out of what you put into it.
Yeah.
If you really want to get in here at 9:30 and leave at 3, well then you're not going to really achieve unless you're super uber effective.
Yeah.
And we've got really great flexible working conditions, but we're really lucky to have great people that are really aligned with what it is we're trying to achieve. Yeah. And that's to serve our communities and empower our communities to, develop these amazing projects and us taking them on the journey as what we call a path of least resistance, so that they're not going, what is all this planning stuff I've got to do? We can break it down into simple everyday terms and give them clarity and certainty at the end of the day. Yeah.
So you mentioned before you personally did a project. What do you like to do, and do you still do it?
Yeah.
Because you obviously do a lot of work on the business and strategic growth and alignment that way, but it sounds to me like you're still on the tools a bit.
Absolutely, I love it. And it's kind of...
We're similar in that way.
I'm not a micromanager, but I like when I'm working, and the clients that we work with, the MA Financials of the world, the Frasers, the Ramsay Healthcares, we're so lucky to have these amazing institutions that work with us. Some of them are very big, complex projects, and they kind of want the Mel of the world to work on their project.
I was at MA today. Anyway.
We're running a bunch of marinas for them, and I'm involved heavily on those projects.
Oh, okay, right.
I mentioned another particularly exciting project over in Marrickville that I'm looking at.
Yep.
We've got obviously Bradfield City Centre and Sydney Science Park for Celestino, so I'm heavily involved on these bigger projects, and a couple up in Queensland as well with our directors up there.
Great.
So I don't want to put down my tools, although when you've got many different hats to wear in a day.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but you just got to be super organised, and I still have passion for it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing it anymore.
You've got to have that, as I said, fire or like churn, or there's got to be something in you that inspires you, because it's not money, it's not winning the business, that's not the indicators of success. I think a lot of people from the outward might see that, this is a great industry to go in, whether it be planning, broking, funding, whatever it is. I think ultimately it comes down to that core person and what they want and what they perceive their success to be. And, for a lot of people, it's a lot of different things. But there's no celebrating the wins anymore for me. So I wondered if that's the same for you.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but 10 years ago I'd be like, oh yes, I landed this client, and oh yes, I settled this big loan, or I did this, and now it's just, that's just what we do.
And I fully get that, right? And it's kind of, it's also hard to get excited about things anymore because you've failed so many times.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to.
And you're like, it's not a win until it's a win sort of thing. Strangely, well not strangely, I suppose what I do really, it's like your children, right? You have a team around you, you're all aligned, or you're striving for alignment to build your culture, to do all these different things. What I personally really enjoy is taking on younger people and actually showing them the ropes,
Yeah.
And actually watching them progress in their careers, tackling these huge blights of task on these amazing projects,
Yeah.
and actually getting the result, and then the client calling them instead of me. That's like, to me, the
That's
ultimate win. That's a gold medal. I've done my job,
Yeah.
I think we're also living in this bubble that we've got to keep, doing what we're doing, and we're not excited about it. We're forgetting that it's really important for us to impart our knowledge on those that are coming through and take people on that journey.
Take them on the journey and show them that they're probably capable of more than they even think. Yeah. But it takes somebody to mentor or be in that kind of leadership role to identify that. Yeah. And then it takes a willingness of the actual person to want to do it.
The will to win.
The will to win, baby.
Yeah. I think the other good thing that I do still really like is that when we do clap home a very big approval any approval in a really solid time frame, it shows our value add. I mean, anyone can prepare a DA, right? But to prepare a really good DA that's fit for purpose, that's going to hit all the salient strategic objectives, clearly identify the issues and how they're being mitigated or managed, why it's acceptable, and then driving that DA through the process with council or state government to a favourable outcome in a great time frame, that to me is a gold medal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving quickly, will to win, quality, full of integrity, stay on point, get shit done.
Get shit done, GSD. Another acronym. We love them here. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. What we always do at the end of our podcast, because I've sent you show notes and I've completely ignored them the whole time because this was just, I think we just went through things in a natural way and I've learned a lot. I've got to, get my acronyms up to date after what we've gone through. But I love to ask people some quick fire questions. So I know you've seen them, but pretend you haven't. And I just want you to say what comes to the top of your head as a response, please, because I really think that our listeners learn more from the person than about what you do.
Sure.
So, what's the best career lesson you've learned?
Oh, I did see that one.
I said quick fire.
Yeah, sorry.
Do you know what? Everybody does this. Okay. Every single person.
Do it again. Yep.
One piece of advice you have received.
Maintain enthusiasm, be bold, be active and prepared.
Be bold, be active, be prepared. Most underrated factor in successful planning.
Quality.
Biggest mistake people make with property.
Don't do proper due diligence.
Best career lesson you've ever learned.
It's okay to fail.
Ooh, that's a hard one. A habit you see in successful developers.
They're organised.
Successful clients.
Yep. Yeah. They're organised.
Yeah.
They're well educated.
Yeah.
They take advice.
Yeah.
They hear the advice from the specialists around them.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got those ingredients, then they're able to come up with a really good recipe.
And can I add then that they've hired you?
Well, hopefully,
Okay. Now this is the final one. What's a power quote or mantra that you live by?
Look, I'm not going to get it 100% correct, but Winston Churchill said, success is measured by one's ability to stumble from failure to failure with no lack of positive enthusiasm.
Love it. And on that note, I will say thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you on. We'll have to get you on post June 30, please.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of planning changes coming.
And we'll get Mins on too.
I'd love to get Mins on. I'd love to spend some time with Mins. Get Minister Parks while you're at it. I'd love to spend some time with Minister Parks.
Kate in marketing, please sort that for us. All right, guys, thanks for listening and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Bye.
Nice, mate.
Legend. Awesome.